Chapter 6. Truer words were never spoken. Laura and her companion left that little cabin with more than they came with, to return in the morn. Laura and Joe came back bright and early the next morning. "It was love at first sight, wasn't it?" Laura said as Tally opened her front door. It was as if the hours apart never took place. Tally reached down to pat Shadow. "It was more than that. That night I went back to the hotel. Of course, he was on my mind. Why wouldn't he be after what took place? But that wasn't the only reason. When I went to sleep that night, he and I met again." "Again?" "Yes, it was a very interesting night. Would you like to hear about it?" Laura smiled. "I can't wait." I truly felt there was more to him, maybe even beyond what we both expected. "Really?" "Yes." "Ma'am, can you hold that thought for a moment? I need to put another disc in the recorder." Tally laughed. "Of course, Joseph. No rules, no time. The story is always there." While Joe was making his adjustments, Talise walked over to the window and then walked to open the door. The geese and ducks had nestled on the shore. Life here was all she wanted, all she hoped it would be. Laura slipped on her coat, sensing they would be taking a walk. Talise just continued out the front door. She and Laura were becoming teacher and student. As she stood on the porch, a small seagull landed nearby and crooned as if to say good day. Talise was always in tune with life and nature, always listening and acknowledging, seeming to understand things others just had no mind to see. The little bird came closer. "Good day, my friend. Such a wonderful day we have to share together." As soon as her words entered the air, the wind rushed around them, filling it with birds of all kinds. "What is this?" Laura thought. She was having a hard time believing what she was seeing. Talise laughed, raising her hand to greet them. Joe was still fiddling with his battery. It was a moment not to be caught on film, but in the heart. As Talise walked closer to the water, Laura stood back, observing. Her way of communicating brought them all around her. Laura faintly recalled words written by Tally and her grandmother, Leah. This must be one of those angel things they spoke of. All the women in her family referred to angel things from time to time, moments that occur in life that you have no way to explain them. Talise tried to explain. The birds always come to the water. It's nurturing for them. It's their place of peace, just like the humans who come from time to time, even though they should come more often. Everyone needs to listen and learn from nature. Nature is such a wonderful guide for existing here in this world. The chairs on the lake's edge were covered with morning dew, but no one cared. They just sat down to enjoy the moment. "Joseph, come be with us. Never allow work to interfere with moments of peace and serenity. Take every chance you can to surround yourself with it." He set his camera on the log table and took a deep breath as he joined them. Words were not shared. They all were still just enjoying this moment together. Talise sensed Laura's mind stirring. "Now, don't you worry. I will tell you of the first night with Nathaniel. I won't forget. I never forget my stories of treasure." "Did you both have any questions to what you experienced yesterday?" Laura smiled and said, "I can say I have never experienced anything like that. Well, maybe when I dreamt, but this felt more than a dream. Were we really there watching it all?" "Joseph, what do you say?" "I say I will never, ever forget my time with you, Miss Tally. You are most definitely someone to get to know. How did you do it? We saw your life right up to meeting Nathaniel, and we were only here for a few hours." "In the realm of spirit, there is no time to measure by," Talise explained. "Time is measured here. I felt you needed to have a clear vision of what brought me here. Now that you went back with me, you can go forward with me. Do you see?" Laura smiled and shook her head in agreement. Tally pulled her coat close tighter. "It's a bit chilly, don't you think? Let's go into town, maybe find a bit of lunch so you both can see why we chose to live here." Shadow jumped around as if knowing what she said. "Come on, boy." She slowly walked to her car. "Ready?" "Ready." Tally loved her car. She named her Crystal. "The car?" Joe said. "It has a name?" "But of course, young man." Joe smacked Laura's leg and tried to keep back the laughter. Laura just shook her head and snickered at him. The drive into town was quite pleasant. The village was nestled at the other end of the lake. It was the quiet time of year now. The tourists had come and gone. Nathaniel and I found this little town while we were on one of our adventures. Wherever trips. We called them that because we never knew where we were going. We just went. "No plans?" Laura asked. "Oh no, never on the wherever journeys. We just drove, and occasionally a town would appear. We would smile at each other and drive down the main street and explore, looking around and admiring the old buildings and the new ones, watching for signs that would catch our attention. If there was a quaint little restaurant, we would always go in and have a piece of pie. It was our way of gathering the sweetness of life when it is unexpected." "There are some really yummy pies out there," she laughed. We met certain people out there that felt so familiar, as if we had met before. Did you ever have that happen to you?" "Yes, sometimes, not often, though," Laura answered. "Very good. Then you understand. You probably had met them if you felt that." "When?" Joe asked. "Maybe in another time, or maybe in a dream." "It's true, then?" Laura asked. "The déjà vu feeling?" Talise parked Crystal, bumping the curb just a bit. "Oops," she giggled, looking at Laura in the rearview mirror. Laura's eyes caught hers, and she knew what she meant. "Wait," Laura thought, sitting up more erect. "Wait a minute here." Her mind was racing. "I saw her before. I saw Talise when I was a little girl. She called me—" Tally interrupted her. "Relax, we're here." Her distracting bump on the curb was indeed intentional. There was only one spot to park right in the front of the restaurant. Laura didn't remember seeing this place last night when they arrived in town. A very creative, colorful sign hung from the peak of the roof that read, "The Journey Continues." Laura and Joe smiled at each other as their eyes caught the name of the cafe. Joe's camera clicked as they walked towards the door. The old, rough barnwood door had experienced many hands pulling it open. You could tell by the rough, aged marks around the handle. Talise opened the door, letting her guests go first. Someone spotted Tally, and soon the room echoed. "Tally is here." She was loved by the whole community. In seconds, she was surrounded by people hugging and kissing her. What a sight to see. Laura and Joe were gaining an even better understanding of who this woman was and what she meant to so many people. "This documentary is going to be like none other," Laura whispered to Joe. I'm not sure the world is ready for this." Joe agreed. "Are we ready for this? After last night, I'm wondering what's next." People moved to the side as a woman of age shuffled through. She wiped her hands on her apron and took Tally by the arm. "Come in, sweet friend. Your table is waiting." A young woman came to her other side, taking hold of Shadow's collar. Shadow loved coming to town. "Hey, boy, are you taking good care of her?" "Aye," Talise patted his head. "He's a good soul friend, Heather. How are you? How is your mom?" In the back of the restaurant, a familiar melody of Happy Birthday was being sung. The sound of their singing in several off-key notes with each other made Talise laugh. Then a loud cheer made Shadow's tail start wagging. He wanted to go see what all the ruckus was about. As the song ended, Talise softly said, "May all your wishes come true." It was her way, always speaking softly, never to be obvious. Heather heard her words. She touched her hand. "Thank you, Talise." Tally smiled. "That's my papa back there. Mom is with him, too. She's feeling so much better." "I know. Everything always works out, love." They finally reached their table. "Well, are you ready to continue?" "Now?" Joe asked. "If it's all right with you, yes, I would like to." Quickly, Joseph took out his recorder. "I'm ready, yes, ma'am." "Yes, you are, my friend." Tally squinted her nose and snickered. She reached across the table and touched Laura's hand. "This is where I needed to bring you next. You see, all things have a history, like this little place. It has touched many lives, this town, this restaurant, even Mrs. Miller's place up the road. Memories in time, history in the making, moment by moment, all for a reason, for an experience for you to savor. Your memories and thoughts gathered together for you to look back on in the days to come. We are making them right now, this very moment." "Laura, you had a flash of memory just a moment ago, didn't you?" The surprise in Laura's eyes made Tally smile. "How did you know that?" "I don't know truly how to answer that. I just do. It happens. It's just given to me. Gifts, I guess some would call it. Sometimes it's fun. Like with you, it's fun." She continued, "You weren't scared, were you, little one?" No. Laura's voice shuffled a bit. She thought, that's what the woman back then called me. Little one. It was her. "Good," Talise nodded. "Did you know anything about my great-grandmother?" "Yes, Deborah Pratt, is that correct?" Laura said. "Yes, that's her name." "I remembered the stories. I read them in the book she wrote. As I understood, it was published by Leah, your grandmother, wasn't it?" "Yes, that is true. My Nana Leah finished it. My great-gram transitioned before it was put into full print. It was always her dream, though. Sometimes those we love will continue the dream." There was so much that wasn't shared then. Sometimes stories just give you a glimmer, as photographs do. They are just a click of a segment of a moment. The experience of being there is the true storyteller. To have a first-hand visual and participate in the experience. Now, some would think that's a difficult accomplishment when you're here in the present and going back to the past. But all our women know how to do that. You experienced it yesterday. Really? All could do this? Yes, when I first met Nathaniel, he saw it. The energy from the person about whom you are walking back in time can share all the moments, word for word. It is quite fun. The spirit world is always there to help in any way that is needed. Relatives or friends, even those who have unique talents, can be called upon to guide and inspire. It's truly great fun. Let's say you're trying to complete a painting, but you seem to be blocked. You call on those in spirit who have artistic talents to come to help you. I know, since this is something many in this realm are unaware of or would dispute the possibility, but try it for yourself. You will see. It does come in handy. Talise laughed. One of the other gifts we enjoy in our family is that we always recognize our men. The humans think we do magic, yet truly it is understood it will happen in time. Their appearance at first can make us hesitate. The eyes we remember. We never know the age we will be when we find them, nor they us. As with my great-grandmother, she was in her 60s when finally they found each other. Now, with Nathaniel and me, I was in my late 20s. We all have had many others that have come into our life. Some we meet think they will be with us forever, yet they are just stepping stones to bring us to the final one. Both smiled, understanding what she was discussing. Do you possibly see this? I am listening, Laura commented. I'm not sure if all of this will register right away, but we both will understand it in time, as you say. You have much to see clearly, and yes, it will come in time. Many have been living without seeing it clearly for millenniums. That's why I'm here with you, to teach, to open the eyes of those that were closed, as many others are doing the same as I am. Even my great-grandmother, Deborah, unknowingly created the story of her future life. She began writing it after her second divorce. That's what brought Bob to her. The story. She had never written as she did then. She wrote in her journals, but was inspired by spirit to make it a story. So thus, it's a story of some of her experiences, but certainly not all. Most of it was created with the guidance of her angels to make this a story unlike any other. Why? Because it came true, right down to the nationality of her last love. Oh, it was fun for Leah to publish it. She had read it or had it read to her by her mom in her journals. Deborah was quite a writer and had an incredible connection with the spirit realm. Leah and the boys read what she wrote years before meeting Bob. It all came true. Thus, she added within the introduction a book that comes along once in a blue moon. So she, Leah, had it released on a blue moon to follow that same path as her mother with the magic of life. What story? Joe asked. The memory barrel, of course. This story sent so many messages into the universe to bring them together. She knew certain words that had been given would be self-explanatory when they met, somewhat of a code, only to be known between them, made in the realm of spirit. Become one. Do you see? She could see her words were having a profound learning experience on Laura and Joseph. Some that were listening understood, and some would in time. Others never would, since it is not for them to know. Do you enjoy rainbows? One of the telling moments where my Gram knew my Gramps was to be with her was their second time together as they drove down a road near home. Gram was driving and said, "Look, we are coming up on a rainbow." When they appeared to be right underneath it, Gramps reached his hand out the window and scooped the rainbow out of the sky and put it in his pocket. As the story was told to me, she laughed so hard when he did this. They would talk about it often and say, "If you did that with anyone else, they would have thought you were bonkers." "I know they would, but it's our own angel moment, my love," he'd reply. A gift was given to them of finding each other that came after their storms in life. They both had been in a storm for quite some time. Now the angels were showing them it was over by this rainbow moment. A little boy about 5 years old calls out, "Mama, I love rainbows." "Me too, Jimmy. They're the bestest ever." Tally loved to play with the little ones. She always called them the wee ones. "Jimmy, have you been fishing in the lake yet?" "No, Mama doesn't like worms. She always says yuck when she sees them." Tally laughed and winked at his mom. "Do you know Shadow, little one?" as she patted Shadow's head. "I see him all the time. He seems like he's very smart." "Oh, he is, and he loves to go fishing. How about tomorrow you have your mama call me, and we will have a fishing party? Would you like that?" "Yeah," Jimmy shouted. "Your mom will set up a time that is good for her too, okay?" His mother nodded. "Good. Then it's a date. Maybe we can show her worms are very nice too. What do you say?" "I say yay!" he shouted again. The energy in that little restaurant was high. You could feel it in the air. That is what this was all about, being together and the joy shared with good friends and family. Talise laughed. She raised her cup of coffee. "Since this little one loves to fish, I would like to tell another story of a little one and his fishing experience." Everyone pulled their chairs closer. Talise loved to take their imaginations to a place they were unfamiliar with. "Envision yourself sitting on the beach by the ocean with me. Are you ready?" "Yes," the group called out together. Good. Now Talise would be their guide. This is called fishing before the storm. The humans wait and watch for the coming storm. There aren't many on the beach where the storm will soon appear. The wind echoes its arrival, and those at sea are already aware of its presence. They are the true storm riders. They are the great fishermen. We that are on land wait, some of us with anticipation to feel the power and energy it brings, and some fearing it. But we don't hide. We experience it. Now look over there. Do you see a young boy? He's my fearless fisherman I'm watching today as we sit in our chairs. Look, he has his first catch. The smile on his face reflects not the size of the fish, but the fun of the catch. An elderly man stands not far from him. He, too, comes to life as his pole bends from the weight of his catch. Now the experienced fisherman appears within him. The true fun of fishing is not so much what is at the end of the pole, but will he bring it in? He is teaching the young boy the life of fishing. Let the catch come to you, he says to the lad. Play with it, anticipate its next move. He has learned through the wisdom of years the process. Now remember this. The fish is also trying to survive. It is thinking, trying to decide its next move, pull or swim towards it. He doesn't know what's on the end of the line either. He is unfamiliar with this. His fight for the survival of the game of life, as ours, will be entwined. Now it begins. Who will win? Who will outsmart the other? You can see the actions and appearance of the elderly man change. His appearance is much younger now. His body is spry and strong. It is his. He reeled in his line slowly, stops, and then begins to reel again slowly, and lets it become still again. The excitement is surrounding them both as the lad watches his wisdom. His pole is bent, and the line fully engaged in their anticipated meal for the day. The fish breaks the surface of the water with a leap of hope to escape. One last try, the elderly gent brought the fish into his world for a moment onto the shoreline. He bent over the fish with his student watching closely. The hook came out smooth and easy. The fish was fine. Then he patted it lightly and said, "Thank you, that was fun." He held it high and set it gently in the water. "Now return to your world and remember ours. There is no winner, no loser. They both have contributed to the game of life. It is a good day." The young boy moved closer to the elderly gent. It's his grandfather. He puts his arm around his grandson as they watch the water and smile at the fish enjoying his freedom. The boy has left the world of his peers to come to the water. The world the young lad has come from isn't welcome here. Here it's just him and the water. He and his grandfather, where a young boy's stature is measured by a smile and the pat on the shoulder of a job well done. He has a good teacher. This experience will stay with the lad forever, for him to share with his children and grandchildren. They are one, as they hold each other's hand, and in the other, the young lad held his catch of the day, as they share the walk of life side by side. You see, all this was given to them just by coming to the water, leaving the world of competition and comparison behind to enjoy life and have fun with someone they love. Soon the young lad will go back to his world, but he will remember that world too, and the fun they had on that day. Just like the fish, let the storm come, because we have no fear. Talise took a deep breath as if she refocused back to the small room. Everyone was silent as they considered what she just shared. Talise never liked to question anyone if they see or not. Some do, and some don't. She could tell by the glow around them if they did. It was another one of her gifts. She glanced out the window and saw the sun was beginning to set, bringing the night glow to the sky. The crisp, cool nights of autumn came earlier in the day now that summer was gone. "We should head back to the cabin." She stood and stirred a bit in standing. "Are you okay?" Laura's concerned voice asked. "Aye, lass, 'tis easy to get down, but to get me old bones to wiggle up, it is a fight with gravity. Let me rise, and don't hold me back. I say this every time I stand to the pole of life." This was met with the relieved laughter of all who had gathered around her. As she walked a few steps, Joe offered his arm to her. She smiled and gratefully took it. "Are you okay, lad?" "Yes, ma'am, I'm very okay." "Yes, you are. I feel it. I see it within you. Your being here with me is because you are ready to see things. There is so much more to the experience you call life than you have even begun to imagine. I will share what I'm given to share. Then you do the same. Is that a deal?" "Yes, it's a deal." After they arrived back at the little cabin, Talise walked over to the old cupboard. Her aged hands gently brought out what they were seeking. "Here," Talise said, placing a worn tablet in Laura's hands. "What's this?" It will answer many questions you might have. This one was given to me by my mother, Lacey. She found it in her mother's treasures. It was always there to be found, as all things are. It just takes time for you to have them placed in front of you. The old yellowing papers were still in the binder. It was safely preserved to have the words available to read for the seeker. Remember, words are written, and then it comes. The reporter and her cameraman said their goodbyes for the evening. Talise's bed felt as soft as a cloud. Life outside was echoing the enchantment to any that had an ear for hearing. Sleep came quickly and peacefully. Her spirit angel stood by her, appearing as a radiant light. "It is going very well." Yes, it is." "Will I have time to finish this with them?" "No rules, no time, remember?" "Do you see? It is a cycle of life." "Yes, I do see." All of us knew you would be given all that was needed to have the essence to be a teacher, to be the beholder. You're sharing from this realm to theirs, a blending, an awakening. We have been with you from the beginning. Your mother knew of our presence, and we stood unwavering beside her, as we always do.